Other cards that you can draw include these double back cards. These will allow you to change the timeline, but they tell you what event you can change. Usually you can pick whatever timeline event you'd like to change, but these cards actually tell you which ones you can change. However, if you have the item that corresponds with this double back, with this event, if you have, say, futuristic clothing to change the hoverboard sequence so that the gang will be jailed instead of Marty McFly Jr., or if you have the McFly family photo when you change whether or not George and Lorraine will kiss on the dance floor. If you have these bonus items, you can change any other event that you want. So in essence, these cards, if you have the conditions set correctly, you can change events twice. So these can be very powerful cards depending on if you have the bonus items or not. And this card, this item card here, Emergency Cash, will actually substitute for any of the bonus items on those yellow cards. So you can use this as futuristic clothing, you can use this as basically any situation that you may need, any monetary situation. So that's pretty clever to use the Emergency Cash as kind of in any situation kind of a card. I guess we'll talk a little bit about the items here. Items are played in front of the player. You put them down. You have to be careful when you play them. You only get one play per turn. So let's say you have a DeLorean in your hand, and you know you want to play the DeLorean to change the timeline. Well, if it's a DeLorean that requires an item to operate, you can't just play them both at the same time. You can only play one card per turn. So you have to kind of set that up. You have to first play, let's say, Lightning Prediction, and then in your next turn, if it hasn't been stolen, which items can be stolen from in front of you, on your next turn you can then play the Time Card version 2, you discard these both, and you can change any of the linchpins that you would like. So that's why, because the items can be stolen and because of the turns that it takes to play time cards that require items, you really want these fully equipped time machines. You really want to use the train or the Time Card version 3. Okay, looking at some of the other item cards, we have some items that you see in the movies that are not important, but they help with the double backs. Here's that pellet of plutonium again, 1 pellet, 1 trip, and the case of plutonium, which this was how things were supposed to work. Doc was supposed to take the entire case with him. And I think Looney Labs did a great job of getting items that we remember from different parts of the trilogy in there. And I've read that Andrew Looney is coming out with promo cards that are more items. So hopefully nothing breaks the mechanics of the game, because right now the game is pretty balanced. But he's using things like the pizza hydrator and the pizza itself, the little pizzas from Back to the Future Part 2, and any other objects that you can think of. But I think he's already done a great job of coming up with objects that were important to the movies. So these cards, the Tomorrow's Newspaper and the Fax and the Telegram that I went past, these actually allow you to cancel another person's card when they try to play it. So these are very powerful because they can cancel time machines, they can cancel these action cards that we'll talk about in a minute, and you want these on your side of the field, but you hope that they don't get stolen. And there's the family photo. Okay, so the action cards, again, they can be the card that you play per turn. The power actions are pretty strong because they can be played during your opponent's turn, out of turn. For example, this one will cancel your opponent's entire turn, which is pretty powerful. This card here, the Quick Trip into the Future, you might want to, if you're playing with very new people, you might want to tell them about the different cards that are in the game, because this card will allow you to look through cards that haven't been drawn yet and figure out what different cards you'd like to take. A lot of people take the Time Train or the Time Card version 3. So if you're playing with new people and they don't know that those are some of the best cards in the game, you should tell them that, or you're a mean person. This card is very strong. This is Memo from Your Future Self. It's basically like the facts or the tomorrow's newspaper, and you can play it out of turn. You can play it at any time to cancel any card. So some people hold on to this until they see somebody trying to change a pivotal event, and they will cancel that card. Rewind is a very important card too. This allows you to use any card that's not a power action out of the discard pile. So you can use this card to, say, use the Time Train or the Time Card version 3 if it's already in the discard pile, and you can use those for your benefit. Engine Trouble is pretty good. That's if anybody's trying to use a time machine, you can play this on them and it cancels their time machine, kind of like what we saw in Back to the Future Part 1. Let's see here, going through. It's a science experiment. This card was actually added to try, I think, to keep in check the power of the Time Train. You can play this out of turn, and you can actually steal the other player's Time Train if they're trying to use the Time Train. And you steal my stuff, this will protect you from getting your items stolen by the action card. Don't be so gullible, McFly. These action cards actually use sayings from the movies, which I think is brilliant. We have Don't Be So Gullible, McFly, which will steal items from another player. Hitch a Ride, if a player changed the timeline in the turn before you, you can use this basically as a stand-in time machine. Not Yourself Today. This card is one of the most powerful ones in the game. This card will allow you to discard either your ID card, or you can make someone else discard their ID card. So if you see somebody that's about to win the game, they've set up the timeline in their condition, and they're trying to win, which, by the way you win is you have to uninvent time travel. You have to flip this linchpin once the time stream is in your favor. You flip one of these cards. There are 5 identical cards that are shuffled and stacked on top of each other. And when you flip it, you hope that it doesn't say this. Mysterious forces prevent you from changing this event at this time. If you flip this card, you have to discard this, and your turn is over. What you want to do is you want to flip this card over and see this. Emmett Brown hangs a clock in his bathroom without incident. He doesn't slip, he doesn't hit his head, and thus he does not invent the flux capacitor. Now, in my mind, that's going to create a paradox, especially when you have someone like Vern, who is trying to win the game, because if he doesn't invent time travel, if Emmett doesn't invent time travel, then Vern cannot exist. So, in essence, Vern is trying to commit suicide, I guess? Vern is trying to erase himself from existence. In essence, Vern is trying to erase his own self from existence. It's a major paradox, and that's the point of this game, is to, I guess, create a paradox and set the timeline in your favor. But Not Yourself Today, if you see someone that's trying to flip over these cards, you know that they've set the timeline up in their favor, you can play this on them. And they have to pick a completely new ID card with completely different goals, and you basically set them back to square one. So this is a very, very powerful card. Okay, well, that's it for me. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've learned a little bit more about the Back to the Future card game. Go out. I strongly encourage you to go out and pick this up. For a Back to the Future fan or a card game fan, I give this an A. I think that this is a fantastic representation of the madness of changing the past and the effect that it can have on the future that you see in the Back to the Future trilogy. I think Andrew Looney did a fantastic job coming up with pivotal events for the timeline. My only concern is that you basically uninvent time travel to win, and in the event of some characters this can cause a major paradox. But other than that, paradoxes aside, this is a fantastic game. All of the cards, the artwork looks beautiful, and if you're a fan, go out and pick this up. And so this is Speederice. I'll see you guys in the future.